Australia's monopoly airports are some of the most profitable in the world, and ultimately it's the passenger who's paying for that. To put this in perspective, our profit margin this year was 13%. Before it was bought out, Sydney Airport's profit margin was around 40%. That's an extraordinary return. A major cost pressure for the Qantas Group moving forward is increased airport pricing. Dedicated pricing principles drafted to solve the problems have never been formally enshrined, and they typically are ignored by airports. As part of the upcoming aviation white paper, consideration must be given to policy settings that will help with efficient resolution of commercial disputes between airlines and airports, helping to unlock growth and put downward pressure on airfares.
Obviously, you are aware of the decision of the federal government not to approve additional routes applied for by Qatar Airways. A, do you have a view on that decision? And B, did you make representations to the government about this decision? Were they in favour or were they against?
So like everybody, I think like a lot of airlines and a lot of other parties, we did make representations. We've been open about that, and we made representations which I think went in our letter, went in October 22. And we've been clear that that was the case. We do make representations on a lot of these issues. As countries, I would say, when we fought for traffic rights in France, Air France would make the input into that decision. When we file it in Fiji, Fiji will make an input in that decision. That's the way this bilateral system works, and every airline is entitled to put their case to it. And we did put our case to the government, and we said to the government that capacity was coming back. We said to the government that was coming back rapidly in all of these markets, and that granting a carrier doubling their traffic rights in the short term would cause distortion. And then when the capacity was already coming back and the short-term needs were going to be met anyway, and that's proven to be the case. So since May, in the last few weeks, we've seen Singapore Airlines and China Southern announced they're putting on more capacity each than Qatar was after. So a lot of capacity is being added to the market, and it's going to be significant over the next year, and that will bring down airfares quite considerably.
Can I ask you just a question very specifically, though? Industry experts and commentators from right around the country have said that had Qatar been granted those additional routes, that the cost of airfares to consumers would have gone down. Is that true?
So the cost of airfares are coming down.
But would they have gone down further if Qatar had have had the additional routes?
So I would say the cost of airfares are coming down, and the issue is going to be if Qatar had, you wouldn't have known the counterfactual fully, because if Qatar have added that capacity, would Singapore have added its capacity? Would other carriers have added theirs? We know they have now, and they've added considerable capacity, which will bring airfares down to the levels that they were inflation adjusted before COVID.
But that's you're talking about distortions in an already distorted market, in a highly regulated market. Are you telling this committee that had Qatar been granted those 21 routes, that airfares would not have come down? Can
I say that Qatar can still add a lot of capacity to this market the way the bilaterals work? They can add bigger aircraft to the cities that they've been granted. They can add aircraft and services to cities like Adelaide, like Darwin, and like Cairns if they want to. There's nothing stopping them doing that if they want to add capacity.
We are here asking questions about substantial sums of money that is owed to the Australian public overseas and through the Jetstar operations that has not been paid. You have put an arbitrary deadline of December this year when people lose that money and the money stays in the pockets of Qantas and Jetstar. And you're seriously telling the Australian public that you don't know how many tens of millions of dollars are involved above that $370 million.
So what we are saying, Senator, is that since March 2020, $3 billion of refunds have been granted.
I've heard that evidence already. Ms Tully, you're in charge of Jetstar. What is the value be above the $370 million that is credits for the Jetstar operations, and what percentage of overseas credits are there attached with the Jetstar operation above the $370 million?
Senator Sheldon, one of the reasons we can't answer you specifically is that figure changes every day because people are refunding it and using it every
Is it more
day.
than 100 million?
Jetstar's is around $100 million. I think the other important...
Is the overseas credits more than
Just if I could just finish.
No, I'm trying to get...
One of the important factors for Jetstar is that...
It's over 100 million.
Yeah, about 50% of that is...
200 million.
About 50% of that 100 million is less than $100.
Order. Can I just let Ms Tully finish her sentence and then you can ask your next question, Senator Sheldon.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. I think just an important
As much as the Chair wants to give you cover, I want to have a very clear answer.
Giving cover,
I want to have a
Senator
very clear answer. There is a certain amount of time.
Point of order. I realise this is a very robust line of questioning, but I don't think Senator Sheldon, his contribution helps in calling into your question your authority. So I just ask him to repeat questions to the witnesses.
I would like Ms Tully to finish her sentence and then we will go on to the next question. Senator Sheldon, you'll have plenty of time to ask your
And
questions.
I'll just before you answer that question, I'm asking for a figure, not a repeat of the explanations that you've given to other senators on questions that you've already tried to obfuscate about.
The point I was going to finish, Senator Sheldon, was that the Jetstar credit, which is around $100 million, we'll take on notice to give you the exact number, is about 50% of that credit is held by people and it's less than $100. So you can imagine the context of contacting those customers to use that amount. Jetstar's is primarily Australian-based credit as well.
You are the most complained company in Australia.
Through a period
You're
of...
trying to say to me that there's no problem here.
I'm not.
Has the board made any comment about the fact that the credibility of Qantas has collapsed under your leadership?
But that's not true, Senator. So all of the market research that we were doing...
Well, the board's made no comment and raised no issues about the fact that the company is the lowest...
Last question, I will come back.
The company is at its lowest ebb in the eyes of the Australian public under your leadership.
That is not true, Senator. But under my leadership, it reached a high.
I asked whether the board had made any comments to you about it.
Senator...
Ask the question. I'm answering the question very directly. Has the board raised with you about their concern that under your leadership that this company is one of the worst rating companies in Australia?
So again, Senator, can you give me the honour and the privilege of answering the question?
Did you answer directly? Yes.
So, but Senator, you're making a whole series of points that are just incorrect, and your basis...
So has the board raised it?
Sorry, Senator Sheldon, allow Mr Joyce to answer
The critical question is, Mr Joyce, yes or no, has the board raised with you the issues I've just raised about your performance and the company being the most discredited company in Australia?
Because the board do not see it the way you're raising it, Senator, because the facts that you're raising...
doesn't see a problem.
But the facts that you're raising are wrong. And Senator, I know you're getting a bit worked up, but please...
No, I'm getting very frustrated with your answers.
But I think give us the privilege. We have taken the time to come here. We have taken the time to be able to talk and answer the questions. Give us the privilege of just not interrupting every few minutes.
All right, Mr Joyce,
and being
please
allowed
answer
to
the question. I'm going to keep Senator Sheldon quiet while you answer the question, and then I'm going to throw to Senator
Chair,
Canavan.
I am satisfied for the record that Mr Joyce has answered it. He said the board has not raised any concern about the standard.
Mr Joyce, would you like to clarify that answer?
So what the board is obviously like management saying that there is a recovery of what happened to Qantas's Net Promoter Score and customer satisfaction during the period of time that was well documented, and we apologise to the public because like every other airline in the world, we were having operational issues with startup. They were there because of supply chain, they were there because of sickness, they were there because we had pilots and cabin crew. It took a long period of time to retrain, and we had a lot of people leaving the industry. But we did fix it. We have gotten back to the levels of on-time performance that are leading in the domestic aviation industry and leading worldwide. So the board sees the progress that we've made, and the board recognises that. We've said each period of time that we've more work to do, and we recognise we've more work to do because the supply chain issues that are there in the aviation industry, and Airbus and Boeing are telling us they still have problems supplying the parts to us. They're going to last until the end of 24, and we know air traffic control are short of people, and that's impacting it. So those issues are there. and they're going to be there for a period of time. But is the board happy with the progress that we've made? Yes. Does the board recognise that there's improvement? Absolutely. Does the board recognise there's need to be more improvement? Absolutely. But they're not viewing it the same way you are, Senator. They're seeing Qantas performing better than most airlines, than other airlines in this country, and in most airlines compared to the rest of the world. And they are the facts, Senator. You may not like them, but they are the facts.
All right.
Mr Joyce, in relation to the decision to grant the Prime Minister's son a Chairman's Lounge access, did you have any discussions with the Prime Minister regarding that decision?
Again, I'm not going to comment on Chairman's Club membership. I've got privacy issues where we will not comment on who's in, who's been offered it, and why they're there. So I will not be making any comment on that, or confirming or denying it. And I don't think. My next question, then, I'm not asking you to divulge names, but my question is, have you given any family members of any other politicians a similar free membership to the Chairman's Lounge? Again, I will not comment on the Chairman's Lounge. I will not comment on who's in or who isn't in. There are privacy issues with that.
I'm not actually asking you to divulge anyone's name, just whether or not that is the only family member that has one.
And I'm not doing that. I'm not making any reference to who or who is in the lounge or under which criteria that's graded.
Senators, I might remind all senators at the table that if they do have questions around Chairman's Club membership, it is probably appropriate for them to declare that whether they are also members of the Chairman's Lounge. And as a chair, I would declare my membership of the lounge. Thank you very much to Qantas on bestowing that upon senators when they are elected to Parliament.
Just to clarify, Chair, I also have a membership.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.